Jenny with On Fire Fit, and welcome to another episode of High Heel Hallelujah. Today I am talking about New Year's resolutions, hype, or happening. But first, let's look at the shoes. This is the shoe of the day, and it is a very simple, classic pump. And my husband got these for me a very long time ago, and I do not know how to say the name of them. I believe, let's show you the inside of the shoe so somebody can pronounce that. These shoes I chose specifically because they are simple, and we are going to get into that today. A lot of times we overcomplicate our so-called resolutions or any time that we want to make a change, and let's keep it simple. So let's chat. I love a new year. I'm sure you do too. I love the hope that springs out of a new year and the excitement at the thought of change. And I know that a lot of times there is a lot of bad associations with New Year's resolutions, and there are some people that really believe in them. I don't know for you what that New Year's resolution situation is like, but for me, I love a time of reflection at the end of an old year and at the beginning of a new year. And I love the idea that we are capable of change and that we have the ability to make positive changes in our life. And it's just a simple decision and then taking action. However, sometimes we get tripped up, and I contend that one of the reasons that we get tripped up is because we overcomplicate the situation. I'm going to talk to you about the 4 R's of what I find to be the most helpful for me when I am trying to make either a resolution or trying to make positive changes in my own life. What I always do is start off with review. And what I always do every year is I look at various areas of my life and I review where I've been and where I want to go. And I usually break this down into my spiritual life. What have I been doing? How have I been growing or building in that area? And what do I want to do in the future? If it's already going really well, then great. I just kind of jot down what I've been doing and I just plan to keep doing that. Then if there is a change that needs to be made, we'll talk about that later. So I look at my spiritual, I look at my physical. What are some things that maybe I've not been happy with, whether it has to do with something that you feel like you want to tone up, or you want to eat healthier, or you've noticed that you've gotten into a sugar coma for too long, or whatever the case might be. What are some physical things that you've noticed about the way that you feel or how you look that you want to make a positive change toward? What things have you been doing all year that have worked or not worked for you? And then what are some things that you're thinking you would like to see change in the future? So then I'll look at my business area and my work, my finances, and my family and friends. And those are usually the main categories that I go through. And I look at what parts have been really good, what parts have not been so good, and what can I start to do. So that review kind of gives me just an overall idea of where I've been and where I'm going. The next thing that I do, I had to keep myself a little cheat sheet so I wouldn't forget, is to be realistic. So being realistic, I think, is so critical. So at the end of last year, we had talked a little bit about things that you can do at the end of the year that will make you feel like, hey, I really accomplished something, even though I'm going into a season where I typically just let go of everything and I always feel the same. I get this kind of recurring thing from a lot of the people that I coach, in that they feel like from the end of October all the way until the new year, that they are pretty much just kind of a free-for-all with how they're eating, and then they feel terrible. And I believe that you need to be realistic about what it is that you really want and are able to actually achieve. So if you have gone from no exercise and you have a very busy work life with a long commute, I do not believe it would be realistic for you to decide that you're going to work out an hour every day. One of the main things that we do to keep things simple is to create a habit. And habits only happen when you do them a lot and you do them often. And so if you are very infrequent with some of these things, it's never going to become part of your DNA and just built into you. So I say that you need to keep it simple. So I look at the different areas of my life that I talked about, and then I think, what is one thing that I could do that will really start to cause that snowball effect? What's one habit that I could take and make a simple change that would still trigger that avalanche that I want? So for me, one of those areas in the past was to plug my phone into the kitchen rather than keeping it by my bed, so that the first thing in the morning that I do, I don't grab for a phone. I get up, I start drinking a big thing of water, and I start to pray. I immediately just start walking down the hall praying and thanking God for things from yesterday, and starting to think about the day ahead, and going into that prayer mode. Then I go into my devotion and God time. But because I have not already looked at my phone, I am very much more focused and able to get that done and into me before I get all the distractions of the world. There's a number of things that you can do in this area, and I know that I've talked about this in the past, but one of the things that I did when I first really wanted to start to improve my spiritual life was I decided that I was going to have to get up 15 minutes earlier than the rest of the family every day. And that really was not that difficult to do, but it meant that I definitely had to set my alarm for before everybody else was awake, because I recognized the fact that realistically, once everybody's up, whoa, that was my ring. Woo! Getting very enthusiastic here. So one of the things that I recognize is that when the family gets up, that's when my focus just goes every which way. So I had to decide that, to be realistic, I could do 15 minutes. Now, I didn't set out with an hour. I decided I was going to do 15 minutes. And that 15 minutes, when I first began this journey, was simply to make lunches and listen to a video on YouTube of Joyce Meyer speaking. And that was it. I didn't even really dedicate a specific time. It was just that I wanted to have that focused time to listen while I was making lunches and putting dishes away from the night before. It started to evolve little by little, and I noticed what an impact it was making on me. And so the next thing I did was decide I'm going to get up 15 minutes earlier than that, and I'm going to actually spend time in the Bible. And so, but because it was a simple thing and it became a habit, I was able to do it. It was very realistic. I could work it into every single day, and it was not a great burden to try to take on. So this is where I really believe hype, or how to make it happen, really has to do with how realistic you are with what will work for you. The next R, after you review and then you are realistic, is to reverse engineer. And this is something that I think most people miss out on, and it's the reason that they don't end up making change or fulfilling a resolution. They don't reverse engineer whatever that goal was. So once you create a goal or an idea in your mind, it needs to be very specific and realistic. So if you feel like I really need to lose 10 pounds, let's give yourself 3 months. But let's reverse engineer that. What exactly are you going to do realistically, and how are you going to make that happen? So I'm going to give you a few examples. Let's say one of the things that you decide would help you lose 10 pounds is to get sugar out of your diet. That's a great idea, but unless you have reverse engineered the situation, you're going to fall into the trap when the first temptation comes your way. So what you would decide to do is take all the sugar now and get it out of your house. You do not wait until you have eaten it up because you are wasting food. If you have decided that this is something that you need to do, you do it now and be very firm about that. That is something you can do very easily now. And that's one huge reverse engineering tool. Do it now. So at the point of a sugar detox or getting sugar out of your diet, what are you going to replace it with? How are you going to avoid grabbing something that has sugar in it for a quick boost? Well, that means that you will likely have to have some food ready and available. So you can Google this. It's very easy to find substitutions. I've got various resources and documents and things that I can send to you and let you so that you can kind of read through what I do. But you will have a plan of attack. I'm going to have these foods in the fridge and I'm going to prepare them on Sunday and Wednesday every week at 5 to 6 p.m. while I'm waiting for the family to gather for dinner or whatever it is. You decide a time and a place and what you are going to make, and you have it ready to go. That's how you reverse engineer. For me, when I started that whole spiritual journey, the 15 minutes getting up earlier meant that the night before, I had to decide to go to bed a little bit earlier. And it didn't have to be a lot, but I had to take some steps back. In order for me to be ready to wake up tomorrow morning, what does that mean for the night before? And so a lot of what ended up happening for me is I decided I'm going to meal prep and I'm going to do lunches the night before so that I have even more time in the morning. And I block out some time after the kids come home from school to make lunches, and we're all chatting and talking about the day, and they're starting to get homework out and things like that. And during that time, I don't need to be focused on other things. We're chatting and talking. So I start making lunches for the next day. And therefore, in the morning, I am not trying to do that and do my devotions and pray and everything else. So this is like where you have to start reverse engineering your day. If you want to try to get activity and exercise into your life, realistically, are you going to do it in the morning, lunchtime, or after work? And what has worked for you in the past? If you are simply not a morning person, then I would suggest you try to get maybe 10 minutes into your lunch hour at work, or give yourself a 10-minute break during the day, or decide you're going to take a walk directly after work before you go home so that you don't get into that like lazy mode once you walk in the door at your house. Something that you know realistically you could do, keep it a short enough amount of time that you can start to build that habit and that you are actually willing to do and it doesn't feel overwhelming to you, and then build that habit by doing it every single day. I try to reverse engineer something from each area of those things that I just talked about. And when I do that, I actually physically write it down. This is what I would like to have happen. Let's say I would like to have a date night with my husband every month. How is this going to happen? It doesn't happen by me writing date night once a month. It happens by me saying what I am going to actually do. So the last day of every month, I am going to look at the month ahead and I am going to input a date on the calendar to go out and do something with him one-on-one. And if for any reason that date doesn't work out, that's fine, but I don't get to take it off of the calendar until I have rescheduled it for a different day. So I don't just delete it off the calendar, I just reschedule it in case something else came up along the way. So these are some things that I do. I just make my list of the things that I really would like, and then I start reverse engineering it. And then the final step is to review that again. So you keep reviewing your reversed engineered goals and just keep on creating that habit. Review, review, review. And the more that you do that, you start building a habit. And habits we live by. Habits are making up most of our day and most of our life. Without realizing it, we're pulling our phone out of our pocket every minute or two, and our brain is all over the place. When you create a habit of leaving the phone in the other room, suddenly you have a whole lot more time. You have more time to focus on the things that you really need to, or whatever the case might be. So this is how I do it. I like to review. I like to get really, really realistic, and then reverse some goals, reverse engineer those goals, and then review again. And above all and in all, I always pray about it, and I ask that God would direct me to the things that would be most likely to lead to the productive and purpose-filled life that He has for me. And I get quiet and listen, and I let Him lead me and guide me. And then I just keep in that prayer mode as often as I can, because that connection with God is where I feel like I can start making actual change and really go in a new direction if I would choose to. So I hope that for you, that gives you a little idea of whether or not you want to make a New Year's resolution and how best to do that. I would love to hear from you if you made any New Year's resolutions. And if not, what is it that you would hope that would happen during this year, and how do you hope to accomplish it? Because I think that it's really cool for us to do this life together, be on this journey together. And so I thank you for being with me, and I can't wait to see you for the next High Heel. Hallelujah. All right, go out and live that life on fire.
So you're going to see 2 of these walk on the runway settings, because I wasn't sure if this was going to be too bright and sunny. So then I went ahead and re-recorded it, but then I just decided I'll throw them both in there. Why not? So thanks for watching to the very end. And I hope that you are enjoying your day and that you have a fantastic, blessed day.